Brothers, sisters, Assalamu alaikum. My involvement with 650 actually began in Guantanamo Bay. For some bizarre reason, after months and months of trying to get in there with the film crew, the Americans agreed to let me in. And I flew to Cuba in May this year with a cameraman, and we had 4 days inside Guantanamo. And amazingly, after letting us in, they actually let us out again. They are so proud of what they're doing in Guantanamo Bay, and there is no sign of the operation winding down. Far from it, it seems to be accelerating. And after my first day in Camp Delta, looking at this new Supermax prison, I came out and one of the young guards said to me, "What do you think of the place?" And I said, "Frankly, I'm lost for words." And he said, "Yes, it's awesome, isn't it?" He just couldn't get it. He couldn't see what I could see, which was the dehumanization process of human beings. It was obscene to think that this place existed, and seeing it with my own eyes, it was quite shocking. So when I got back to the UK, the first person that I contacted was Brother Moazzam Beg, and interviewed him. And I'd interviewed him many times before and read his book, Enemy Combatant, and the issue of the woman screaming in Bagram came up, because he said, whatever you saw in Guantanamo, Bagram is much, much worse. And he raised the issue of the woman screaming. And I'd heard him talk about her before, and I really didn't believe him. I said to him, "Don't you think that the screams that you heard were just a recording, something that the CIA had put together as part of a mental torture program?" And he said, "No, she really did exist. And I know this because when I did eventually go to Guantanamo, other brothers talked about her, because initially they thought that this woman was Moazzam's wife." I looked at him, and the slow realization that these screams could belong to a real person and not an actor was almost too shocking to contemplate. And even then he could see that I still didn't quite believe. And so he sent me an email directing me to a thread, and it was of an Al Arabiya interview with a prisoner on the run, one of 4 Arabs who escaped from Bagram. And I think Moazzam made reference to him and how he said that prisoners had gone on hunger strike because of the appalling conditions of this mystery woman. I don't know whether Moazzam's emails are screened or whether mine are, or whether probably both are, but that piece had been up, that interview had been up on the internet for 2 years, and it suddenly went down. But listening to the interview was enough to convince me that 650, prisoner 650, did exist. I called her the Grey Lady of Bagram because I didn't have a name. I knew that I wouldn't be able to get the Western media interested, although my story when I was captured was front page news for 10 whole days. Let's face it, it was because I was a white Westerner who'd been caught by the evil, brutal Taliban, and that's why it made front page news across the world. The Western media is racist, Muslim blood is cheap, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to get them interested. And so I decided to go to Pakistan, where it's a country I regard as my second home, and despite all its problems and political problems, the media there is going through a renaissance. The media there is actually enjoying a period that the Western media has not enjoyed for many years, and that is free speech and free thought. And so I thought, I'm going to go there and ask my colleagues for help. Now, I'm a patron of Cage and Hugs, and Cage had been trying to highlight the disappeared in the case of Dr. Siddiqui for about 5 years, but nobody had really paid that much attention. We're not a rich organisation, so I went on air miles, on British Airways air miles I'd accrued over the years. And although British Airways have stopped their flights in the last 4 weeks to Pakistan, as soon as I got my air miles to Islamabad, they stopped air miles to Pakistan as well. Interesting, that. So I went to Pakistan. I met up with Imran Khan, the cricketer turned politician, because whatever you think of politics, and as I say, they're very complex in Pakistan, I know that Imran Khan is a man of integrity, and he organised the press conference for me, and we had more than 100 media turn up, and I pleaded to them as their sister, as a fellow journalist, would they raise the case of 650, and we questioned whether 650 could be Dr. Aafia Siddiqui. The Pakistan media then went into overdrive, and they did a superb job of raising the issue of 650. The Pentagon issued a press release saying that there were no women in Bagram, there was no prisoner 650, she did not exist, she was a figment of my imagination. They did this to me in 2003 over Diego Garcia. And in fact, the ambassador in Washington issued a statement saying that I was mad for even suggesting that anyone was being detained in Diego Garcia. So the usual press releases came out of total denial, but the Pakistan media kept digging and kept pressurising. Imran Khan continued putting the pressure on the Pakistan government. When I got back to London, Lord Ahmed, who seems to have found some lead in his pencil, he's really got behind this case as well. He started firing off letters to the British government, to the American ambassador in London,